questions. All right, so in this meeting, we are going to talk about what NHS is, the requirements to maintain membership in NHS at Lewisburg, the application process, and then we will answer any questions that you have. If you have a question throughout, when we're talking, please ask it in the chat, and Ms. Hatchett is going to monitor the chat, and then we'll cover any questions that we haven't gotten to at the end. If you would prefer to ask your question out loud, just please wait until the end. So I've muted everybody now, but at the end, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question if you would prefer that. All right, so first I want to just talk a little bit about what NHS is. I am Ms. Clayton, and then Ms. Hatchett is here as well, and we are the co-sponsors of the National Honor Society at Lewisburg. And so the National Honor Society is a national organization with thousands of chapters throughout the country. It's based on 4 pillars: scholarship, leadership, service, and character. And it's an honor for our students to be selected to join. And it's a great pathway to get college scholarships or college admission. However, we really try to instill in our students a sense of meaningfulness in the club, as opposed to just a box to check on an application. And so we do this by upholding high standards for those 4 pillars. And before we get into specifics of the club, we don't know what next year is going to look like. No one knows. And we're just going to try our best to make NHS meaningful and worthwhile for our students. The information that we're going to give you is what we've done in the past. But with the uncertainty of the future, like, we can't ensure that everything we tell you tonight is going to be the case. And so that's why usually in the spring, we would collect due money. We would have students sign bylaws, but we're going to hold off on all of that until the fall. But we are going to go through the application process now and accept members. And so if you are selected to be an NHS, in order to maintain membership, you have to keep your grades at a 92.5 NGA or above. And if your GPA does fall below that, you have 1 9-week term to in which you'd be on academic probation to raise it up. And if you haven't raised it up after that 9 weeks, then you would be dismissed from the club. And so that's the scholarship component. You also must maintain good character and not have any discipline write-ups. If you have a discipline write-up, then that you would be subject to dismissal. And then you also have to perform 25 hours of community service with NHS-sponsored activities. And so that can come into question sometimes. These are activities that NHS sends out signups for. So if you want to go do your own community service through your church, or go to a nursing home or something like that, like, we encourage you to do that. Feel free, but those hours will not count toward the NHS hours. So they have to be 25 hours within our club. The dues are $20 per member, and then plus a t-shirt, so around $30 per year. And that does not include the graduation stole, which seniors will purchase. That's an additional like $22. And so the dues go toward our projects throughout the year out in the community. And so you'll sign up, if you are a member, you'll sign up for the projects on Sign Up Genius. And some of them are on the Lewisburg campus, but many of them are out in the community. If the project is in DeSoto County, you have to supply your own transportation. Sometimes we go to Memphis, and if we do that, then we will take school transportation. But if it's in DeSoto County, we do expect our members to be able to provide their own transportation. All right, so are there any questions as far as what NHS is or the requirements? If anybody has
nothing in the chat so far.
None in the chat? Okay. All right, so we'll go through a little bit of the application now. as you are filling out the application, make sure that you look at the rubric, because we are going to give you, that's the exact thing that we are going to base our judgment on. And so we will look up your grades and your attendance. But those are things that, like, hopefully you know where you stand there. And so you can kind of figure in your head, I'm going to get this many points for grades. I'm going to get this many points for my attendance. And, you know, that magic number is to get to 7 points overall. And so you have to think, you know, obviously we want you to make sure that your application is to the best of your ability and complete. But if you know that you're going to be, you know, at a 1 for grades and maybe a little bit lower on attendance, then you need to put a lot of effort into that essay, and hopefully you have some community service. And so the community service page is optional, but for those students who you might be borderline, we do recommend that you fill that out if you have community service. All right, so the teacher recs, you're going to pick 2 teachers. Just choose wisely and make sure they are teachers who you have asked in advance if they would fill it out, because we will be sending them those applications, and you don't want that to come as a surprise to that teacher. And so just follow the instructions there by putting their first and last names. As far as activities go, I know we have a lot of band members, and that's a big activity, and we recognize that, but it is going to count as just one activity. And so if you're in band and you have a bunch of honor bands and accomplishments, that's awesome. Just list all of those under one activity. And so the same would go for like drama, if you're in the plays, and, you know, list all of that under one activity. We do have a question as far as the teacher recs. Make sure you are choosing your core teachers. So that's math, science, English, and social studies teachers. So no coaches or electives for your teacher recs. All right, so then activities. If you transferred to Lewisburg from another school, then you can put your old school's activities there. Just make sure that it's from high school, only high school on this application. As far as the personal statement goes, be sure to follow the prompt and edit yourself. You know, make sure that you make a rough draft in a Word document, maybe get somebody else to read it, and that before you submit it. And then, like I said, the community service is optional, and so fill that out accordingly if you know that you're going to be struggling to get to that 7 points without it. The deadline for the application is Tuesday, May 12th at noon. And so you may only submit one time. So make sure before you hit that submit button that your application is complete and correct. And then that is a hard deadline. So at noon, we're going to turn it off. And that is all I have as far as the application goes. We will open it up to questions, so feel free to type one in the chat if you have a question, or to unmute yourself. I know some people might have joined late, and so I am recording this, and I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and then I'll put a link on my teacher website. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any questions. If you do have a question, feel free to email Ms. Hatchett or me. We are happy to answer questions. And we made sure, you know, to send an email to all the parents, but like if you have friends who, you know, maybe they, the parents might not check their email all the time, then reach out to them and see if they've gotten that application, because we want to make sure every student who's eligible has a chance to apply. Okay. All right. So if you have other questions, feel free to email us. Thank you for joining, and have a good night.
Thanks.
Bye.